Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hi, this is Vagora, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather. As always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's a huge honor and privilege to welcome back my good friends, Vagora. They have not been on a show for a very long time, but hey, this is still their home. They're the ones who actually came on my show when I very first started out getting horror punk bands, stuff like that, all the horror bands on here, which I still support. So do not forget that, people who is out there listening. I still support all the horror folks out there. So let's get that straight and out the door. So I want to introduce Peter DeRaven, vocalist, Jesse Nameless, guitar, and Ashley. She's the bassist. I feel like we got to give her a nickname too. Ashley the Lifeless.
Oh, it's Ashley Serenity.
Ashley Serenity Lifeless. I'm going to throw Lifeless in there. That sounds cool. Vagora is set to release their upcoming 6th studio album, Sackcloth And Ashes, on November 15th. And you can pre-order this album now. And it kind of blows my mind that you guys are actually releasing your 6th studio album, because to me it seems like there's more.
Well, I've done the numbers, and there's over 100 Vagora songs recorded now, so yeah.
Jeez.
It's pretty crazy.
There's going to be more stuff that's not going to be released on this album, correct? On down the road that you've not put on this one. Is that correct?
Well, it was kind of a weird selection on how we decided to put this album together. There will be more Vagora music, I can tell you that. It'll probably come in the form of a different album or EP or something. Not necessarily this recording process. I think we pretty much put everything out on this album that we wanted to.
Now, this is Vagora's 6th studio album. Peter, you guys, did you ever think you would see 6 albums released from where this band started and where it's at today?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm constantly writing, and so is Jesse and, Robbie. And, we have lots of material that we always have going on. So I think we're always planning on doing something or planning on recording songs.
What's impressed or excited you guys the most about making the new album, if anything? What sticks out the most for all of you guys?
For me, it's a different album. It's got a different vibe, different feel to it. For me, it was very lyric driven. So, I like the fact that it's a different sounding record.
Well, we came at it from so many different musical directions, where I think a lot of the time we have a little bit more of a unified approach, where this one we did like a couple of really heavy songs and a couple of just really fast songs, and there's a couple of like more synthy or like slowed down, where there's a little bit more of like an atmosphere to it, where I think usually we go for more of a punk centric kind of thing.
The production on the album was produced by Robbie, who's our guitar player, so that was kind of cool to have him step up and take the reins on the recording process.
I want to talk about this a little bit, because I know the last time Jesse came into the band, and Jesse was a little shy about putting his stuff out there and adding his twist to stuff. Jesse, what about you, man? Have you seen a growth in your progression since joining Vagora? And plus, Peter, what about letting go of the reins just a little bit and let Jesse add some stuff to this? Let's talk about that, how you guys have worked this out and the growth of Jesse's playing and everything.
Yeah, I mean, when I started with Vagora, I hadn't really been a lead player in a lot of bands. The stuff where I played lead was really not intricate or interesting at all up to this point. And so learning how to get out of that mindset of trying to be more subdued as a player and just kind of being like balls out about it, more or less. I kind of took the opportunity to just write whatever I wanted and see who needed to adjust what to suit what they're up to.
Yeah, as far as letting go of the reins, it's sometimes I get a bad rap for people thinking I'm kind of a control freak or something like that. But believe it or not, in this band, everybody writes. Jesse joined the band when we still had Tracy in the band, and he kind of took over as, doing a lot of the songwriting. And, me and him have worked really well together. Robbie writes songs. Mark wrote songs for the last album. Yeah, it's pretty much a democracy. I've always kind of loosened up the reins as far as, especially the songwriting. We all kind of take turns at that. And, Jesse's, I've always said that he's an unsung hero. He's an amazing guitar player. He can stand toe to toe with anybody as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, I'll second that. I'm proud of him for what he's accomplished. I mean, he's actually came out of his mold, if that makes sense. He's actually turned into a really good guitarist. So kudos to you, my man.
Well, when we were doing Darling Discordia, which is the album that Jesse played, the first album, and he was just doing rhythm stuff. And when we reformed after Tracy and Kylie left, he came down here and was just like ripping all these leads. And we were like, dude, we didn't even know you could play that kind of stuff. We just assumed you were a rhythm guitar player, because his previous stuff we had heard was more of a rhythm guitar punk kind of stuff. And me and Mark were just like, dude, you got to play lead. It was just natural, and he was a big Blitzkid fan. He was a big Tracy fan. So his style, at first was, it worked well for his, for replacing him. The style worked out well. Now he's got his own thing going on, and it's awesome.
How long did it take to write and complete the album, guys?
Christ. This album.
Some of the songs are a little bit older.
Yeah.
I think we have a song on there called Queen Bee that I think I wrote. I wrote the music like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we have one on there called Redheaded Slut that I think I wrote the music for that one like 3 or 4 years ago. I think I wrote that when we were doing The Lust of Lily.
This is the longest we've ever taken to put an album out in between, time. I think we were getting ready to go into the final songwriting phase in 2017. We're used to putting out like an album a year before that. So, this one was a tough one to get out. Not for any one particular reason, but, it was different in that aspect, because usually we're a little more quicker with the releases.
Now, I know you guys have been through several lineup changes, and that happens, but what has adding Ashley to the band, what has she brought to this band that may have been missing, possibly, if anything?
Well,
first of all, a chick.
Yeah. Ashley started this band with me in 2006, and she was our second female bass player, but she, we played the bars, we played the open mic nights, we played every, hellhole we could play. And just around the brink of when we were starting to record Agoraphobic, she had to leave the band because she was having a baby. So she took a 10-year sabbatical. And she called me up, and she said, I want to get back into playing music. I think she was more or less asking me to, see if we wanted to start a different band or try to do something on the side. And I said, we actually just, we're looking for a bass player. And
did you know I was drunk that night? I reached out to you.
I did not. But we've stayed in touch for years. We both have a ton of kids, and we really do. We have 7 in between the two of us.
Wow.
So having her come back is just amazing. Vagora's always worked well with female in the band, and she reminds me of the old school. It's like not getting a new member. It's just getting, reliving the old days. She missed a lot too, those 10 years. So we're kind of catching her back up with, doing shows, hopefully get some tours going. I don't know. How do you feel, Ash?
I mean, I'm having fun, I'm having fun learning the new stuff and playing the old stuff. It's definitely very nostalgic, and I appreciate it too. Like, I appreciate being able to come back in. And as far as Jesse goes, you were talking about Jesse's music earlier and what he's brought to the band. I, as a bassist particularly, have been having a lot of fun learning Jesse's songs in particular.
Because mine are too easy.
The truth comes out on BODS Mayhem.
I was playing guitar when she was in the band at first, and I'm not the most savvy guitar player. I'm kind of a meat and potatoes kind of guy, and we were definitely more of a punk band at the time, so my stuff was a little more easier to learn, I guess.
The truth comes out on BODS Mayhem Hour. I feel like I'm on a talk show.
No, but you know what though? My style of writing is crazy because I'll always throw a punk song into every album, and everyone like those are the ones everybody's like singing and like think are catchy and whatnot. I'm like, I feel like sometimes like I only know like 5 chords and like one progression, and but I guess it works.
That's what I was gonna say, man. If it works, it works. Don't fuck with it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Look at AC/DC; they're still around.
Yeah. But it's cool because I'll bring a song that's very bare bones and I'll either hand it off to Jesse or to Robbie, and it's like they're both such amazing guitar players, and you never know what you're going to get back, and usually it's almost always something awesome, something well beyond what I thought I could write. Any pressure at all actually coming back into the band? I mean, I know they've had several bass players, but do you feel any pressure coming back at all or no?
Yes. I definitely feel a lot of pressure just to like get everything down as quickly and efficiently as possible. But I definitely feel like I have a better grasp on it than I did when I was last in the band. Like Pete's style of writing music was very raw. You had something like Some Most, and then it switched over to something like Princess, and it just like was fast and crazy, and it was fun. But then right around the time, like right before I left the band, that's when like Tracy started coming in. We had Eric, and it was starting to get a little more complicated for me. And I was working on my second child, and I wasn't sure I could really get up to speed. But, I took that hiatus, and now coming back, it almost feels like smoother for me. It's a little easier to kind of grasp, the music that I'm learning and get it out there and actually do it. But I still feel some pressure, definitely, especially being a chick, all eyes are on me. So,
any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on the album? I know it must change every time that you all listen to this. I know it must change every time that, you look at the tracks, because I know you guys are close to these songs, but are there any that stand out for each of you possibly?
I don't think Ashley's heard the whole album yet.
I've heard Redheaded Slut.
Yeah. Yeah, because Robbie played bass on the album because we didn't have a set bass player. So, Ashley's been learning everything, in reverse. But for me, I love Redheaded Slut because, I'll give you a hint on it. Everybody's going to think it's about a female or about a relationship. It's actually about my alcohol problem. And if you listen to the lyrics, it's pretty, now that I say that, it's not about a redhead. It's about some issues I had, and I'm 5 years sober now. So
good.
Just kind of getting that out. This song called Rest After Death, that I like that one because we all wrote it together, and Jesse came up with the riff in the van while we were touring. And I think these are some of the best lyrics. I know everybody says that, but lyrically, I really stepped my game up on this album. So yeah, those would be the two. I like what you did on Eye for an Eye.
Oh yeah. We were trying to cherry pick songs for the album, and so there was one that Robbie had written that he didn't feel comfortable doing the vocals on. So he asked me to do it because he wanted it to be more like shouting and screaming. He just wasn't up for that. So I had to kind of adjust to singing somebody else's material that was like completely new to me. And so that one definitely stands out.
We did Queen Bee was in the B tuning. Isn't that the first time you did that?
No, second time that we've done Drop B is the song Queen Bee. The first time was a song Tracy wrote for Darling Discordia called Dead Battery. And I had a song that was already just really low and heavy, and I just wanted to see if I could make it heavier. So I dropped it down another step.
The other thing, too, I wanted to say about Jesse, and especially on this album, Jesse writes a lot of synth music, electronic stuff. A lot of people don't realize that. He's been really bringing a lot of that to the table the last couple of years, whether it be in sample form or just on this album. He had some full-blown, musical pieces that were, there's a song called Walk Away that Robbie sings that Jesse wrote. It's a straight-up synth kind of industrially kind of tune. Also, too, the opening track is... it's very sample heavy, and that was all him.
Oh, the opening track was Rob.
No, I mean the opening, not the opening track, but the first full song.
Oh, yeah.
Bridges I Burn. So yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't know, that he does that, a lot of keyboard, synthy kind of stuff.
Death and Dreams has a little bit of that too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, Death and Dreams.
I did. I wrote synths into Death Dealer, and I wrote Dream Dealer to have the first half be a synth song.
Yeah, so that's a little something else extra that he brings to the table that he doesn't really do in other projects.
It's a cool sound too. I think it makes us stand out as a band.
Fuller, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've listened to Redheaded Slut. I've listened to Eye for an Eye. I really like that one. I actually did recently download all the tracks onto my computer so I could listen to them all and get a good feel for it, because I know I'm going to be learning some songs from there pretty soon. She Never Says Goodbye is on there too, right? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I'm always going to gravitate more towards, like, really punk songs. So, like, Redheaded Slut really, like, it screams to me. So.
All right, folks, so stick around. You want to sit back and relax, because we're going to take a break and we're going to listen to 2 of the tracks off of Vagora's new album called Sackcloth And Ashes that comes out November 15th. And please check these tracks out. It's called Redheaded Slut and Rest After Death.
I don't
So was it hard to choose between these current set of songs, which one you wanted to be the first single, or maybe even do a video you wanted to release or push first off this album? Did you have to have outside help to decide on these songs possibly? Because I know you guys don't do a whole lot of that stuff, but maybe this time around, possibly?
As far as a video, we were going to do one for Rest After Death. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. We had a really cool idea for it too. Maybe we'll do it eventually, but I think that was more or less the lead that we're going to do. There was another song called She Never Says Goodbye. That was another strong one too. It's a very, very catchy song. Yeah, I mean, there's so much diversity in this record. It's kind of hard to like pick one song that would really kind of sum up the record. I think Rest After Death is probably a good one because it's got some melodic stuff. It's got some heavy stuff, some punk stuff going on with it. It's got a little bit of everything. For
each of you, what do you hope everyone takes away from, or a message you hope to hear while listening to any of Vagora's music in general? What do you hope everybody gets from this when they pop it in and start to listen to it?
I don't know. I think it kind of varies song to song for me. You know, because sometimes we'll all be just really depressed and writing songs about being really depressed, and I think the point is to just kind of tell people to grapple with that and get through it. And I think other times we write songs that are just a little bit more for fun about things that just interest us. And so I don't know. I would say probably just, you know, with the darker stuff, I would definitely say just keep pushing through as best you can and find whatever coping mechanism is going to keep you going.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I've been to some dark places the last year and a half, 2 years, and you know, that usually is when I'm most creative lyrically and, you know, musically, and it bums me out that that's the case, because it'd be nice to write stuff while I'm happy, but it just doesn't happen, unfortunately. You know, I sound like an emo kid, but it's just not the way things work out for me. I've had people message me and, you know, say that, you know, an album, they listened to it while they were going through a rough time, and, you know, my words have meant, you know, something, you know, important to them, and it's the highest, you know, honor you can get for, you know, somebody says something like that. So I guess that's, you know, just to relate and hopefully let people realize that they're not the only ones that have those kind of feelings, and, you know, there's, you know, they're not alone. And I think that's what I try to do. That's why I'm honest and I write things right from my heart, because, you know, hopefully it will resonate with somebody.
I hope that when people listen to it, they can connect to it, and that they can see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, this band has been through a lot of high points, but a lot of low points too, and we always get back up again. So I think, you know, hopefully that, you know, correlates like that. Hopefully that reflects onto other people when they listen to our music.
This album was produced by your bandmate, Robbie Bloodshed. How is working with Robbie as a producer versus Robbie in the band?
You know, I've known Robbie since he was like 11, 12 years old. And, you know, his last couple albums, he's been really taking the reins. His solo albums, we figured, you know, let's see what he can do, you know, as far as, you know, producing the record. And he's very professional, very, you know, retentive, very thorough. He knows what he wants. And I think he was able to get a record together from a great place. And he definitely put his stamp on things as far as the sound and the way things got mixed. You know, he knew what he wanted. And a lot of it, you know, at first I was a little, you know, not that I wasn't thrilled, but like he did some things differently, say just recording wise or things, you know, that I wouldn't have done myself. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that he did that because, you know, just because I would go to a safe place, like, you know, mix this way or the guitar should sound that way. I'm glad he did his own thing because, you know, sometimes you need that extra ear, you know, and somebody else to take what you're doing and make it something, you know, great. So, you know, Robbie's awesome to work with. He, like I said, he knows what he's doing. He's got the notes. He knows, you know, you go in the studio with him, he knows what he wants. You know, we were doing vocals and I mean, he had it written down. He knew what he wanted me and Jesse to do. He also takes, you know, our stuff into consideration too. But, yeah, I enjoyed working with him. You know, I've worked with him. I've been on the road with him for, you know, days and weeks and, you know, months at a time. So, you know, we all get along pretty good.
Yeah, Robbie really streamlined the whole process. He knew exactly how he wanted everything done. He ran a lot of ideas by me, and I okayed everything he threw at me. So he he wanted to record certain things through certain amps, and he wanted me to record certain songs through his amp and him to record certain songs through mine so that we could get a more consistent sound on everything, which I don't think we had really ever done before. We would usually kind of, when it was me and our last guy, John, we would use our own stuff to do our own tracks. And I think that kind of separated us out a little bit, where Robbie kept us a little bit more uniform so that maybe it wouldn't sound like two completely different things being played. And I think that definitely helps out. And I mean, having a different producer as opposed to how we used to produce things before definitely gives a different sound and a different feeling to the album. So you don't really feel like everything is sounding the same over the last few things that we've put out.
So did Robbie get something out of you and Peter that you think somebody else may not have gotten possibly on this record?
I think so. I'm always striving to sing better and to do different things. And, not that I want to impress, but when I felt like when I was going in there and doing my vocals that I wanted to really, do a good job for them, so I definitely stepped my game up when I went into the studio, which I mean, I always do, but this, I wanted him to succeed with the production as much as the band to succeed with an album.
When I work with him, I try and write things that I think would be easier for him to kind of put his own swing on. So when we were recording Rest After Death, there are some parts that were recorded on there that are kind of supposed to give that little nod for his style, where I wrote that song on a guitar in a van. So that's just a pretty straight up punk rock song. And he likes to, he plays a lot of really like cool, fancy things that I did not write on there. And so I kind of started adding those on so that he could layer on top of them. And it's just it's a different style to be able to write with. And it's I wouldn't have gotten to do that if he wasn't if he hadn't been such a big part of the band for this.
What about the artwork or cover photo for the album? Who did this for you all?
The art on this album is very weird and very out there.
Kind of mixed up.
It's got a very dark vibe to it. The album cover was Jesse. He put that one together for us. We just basically, me and Robbie threw a bunch of ideas at him, and he came out. And Jesse's really good at that kind of stuff. So is Robbie. I think Robbie was kind of burnt out. He had done a lot of artwork for the last album or two, so he kind of wanted Jesse to jump back in and kind of put his spin on things, and it worked. There's some awesome pictures in there. I actually did a photo shoot with my twin daughters. I dressed them up all gothic, and they're holding these, dolls by the feet. And that's one of the insert pictures, and they're all black makeup and stuff. And there's just some, there's a painting I did, and there's a picture that Robbie had gotten of the ocean. And there's a lot of personal stuff going on with the imagery on this album, on the artwork.
So what were you working with on this, Jesse? Stepping back in and taking the reins of the artwork on this album.
Well, I already knew there was one element that I knew we had been trying to work with, which was an image of a guy actually wearing the Sackcloth and Ashes. We ended up just using the silhouette, but the idea was a lot of black and a lot of dark reds. So I tried to find images that'd be easy to do that too. And there's a photo in there that actually I took in my backyard not the other day, but maybe a month ago. And it's just the side of my house and part of my neighbor's house showing through, and I just threw that in there because I thought it kind of fit the vibe. It's very, very death oriented without being quite so obvious about it. That's a thing that we tend to go with. It's things that kind of hint at it but don't outright put it there.
I mean, the general theme that I kind of gave everybody was obviously, if anybody knows, Sackcloth and Ashes is something that they used to do way back, if somebody needed to be redeemed or needed forgiveness, they would wear this, these burlap sacks, and everybody in the town basically knew that they fucked up, and they were looking for forgiveness from somebody, and that was their way of basically trying to atone for what they had done. And I think that was my theme for this album, kind of going through a new time in my life, and I'm looking for forgiveness or some kind of closure with a lot of things. So that dark, image of the guy, wearing the Sackcloth and Ashes and basically begging for forgiveness was definitely the image that we needed to use.
Do you see this band still musically growing from where it started, or has it just been more of a personal growth for each of you involved in Vagora?
I mean, if you hear the album, you'll know that we're moving in all different directions musically. We're constantly changing our sound, and not changing our sound, but just whatever sounds right, whatever feels right. This is one band that pretty much every member, past and present, has said that they had no restrictions as far as what they were writing. They could bring anything to the table and it would work. We'd respect it and appreciate what they were bringing, whether anything, acoustic, electric, electronic, didn't make a difference. So that freedom, and I think even Robbie can tell you that, when he writes for Vagora, it's a lot different than when he writes for Robbie Bloodshed, his solo stuff, because he has no real, he just, like I said, the stuff he wrote for us sounds like Vagora stuff or outside the box stuff that he wouldn't do in his solo band. So it's pretty cool. I think that, for me, is the coolest stuff, to have, the band members bring stuff to the table that they, could only use for us because of the diversity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like I'm growing individually. I know the band has always been growing and changing and adding, but coming back into the band, I feel like this creative power in me that I wasn't feeling for a long time. And I'm even starting to write things now too, and I haven't done that in a long time. So I think it's a testament to the growth that this band incorporates into all of us. It just instills creativity,
Yeah, I think we definitely continue to grow, because when I first started listening to Vagora, one of the things that I liked is that the album Agoraphobic reminded me of Alkaline Trio, and now I don't really hear that as much, but I still hear it in there. But what I hear now is we have a song that to me just sounds like Pantera on the new album.
Oh wow!
And I don't think that that's something that we would have heard from this band 10 years ago. So, and I don't even think that's necessarily something I would have thought we would have done even 5 years ago. Even when we did Antagonist, and that to me is a very Swedish death metal influenced song.
I think when Darling Discordia came out, after that album, man, this band kind of just took off as far as diversity in the music, if that makes sense to you guys.
Oh, yeah. After that record, which is one of my favorite records, I can't say anything enough about that record, but when we went with this new lineup, we've toured more than we've ever toured. We really came into our own. And I think that reflects in the music and just the tightness of the band. I mean, we really became, like I said, we cross-countryed twice. We did a lot of stuff. So, like I said, I think that all reflects in what we're doing.
What can fans expect at a show from Vagora who have not got to see you guys live as of yet? What are they going to get when they come to see you all?
It's kind of cool. I like when people see us for the first time. I think the thing that blows them away is the two guitar players is, the fact that we don't have, Robbie and Jesse both do leads and do solos, and not a lot of bands you don't see that too often with two really great guitar players. But I think to this day, the one thing that always tied us together or separated us or whatever you want to call it is the friggin' backing vocals. I think when we go into those, harmonies, that's when people are just like, holy shit, they were not expecting the three of us to, just do those backing harmonies. And that was the same case with Tracy and Kylie and with Eric and Tracy. And, we've always been lucky to have really great vocalists in the band. But I've, and I'm not saying it because it's the current lineup, but, Jesse's a lead singer, Robbie's a lead singer, so am I. So, we use that to our advantage and really try to expand on that. I think that's what always blows people away. That, and I mean, the energy. We always put on a really high energy show. God, we did a show 2-3 weeks ago, and you can see it on YouTube. Jesse, we were playing this punk song, Emeralds from Darling Discordia, and it's not the most heavy song, but dude, he looked like he was friggin' headbanging so bad. I was like, holy shit, dude. I'm like, you were so into that song. I mean, he was really going ape shit, and I was like, holy fuck.
It's funny because there were points at that show where I was doing these moves on stage that everybody thought was intentional, and it was really just that I'd spilled a little bit of a drink. Foot kept slipping. But I'd catch myself, and I'd be like, okay, well, my hair's long enough, I can cover the face. They can't see me going, ah!
But yeah, I mean the intensity that I always get, we all get that, when we go out there, we don't phone it in. Even when we're on tour and we've done this 1,000 times, it's like, even if we're playing in front of 10 people, we always put on a performance.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you that Vagora gets support from, or your music even gets played in those areas? If you can tell, possibly from like any of the hits or anything from the songs.
I think as far as other countries are concerned, I think Canada and Germany probably the most out. I mean, I send out all the CDs and stuff. So
we definitely. I would say probably because I mean Canada, and we also sell some stuff in England. Well, the whole United Kingdom, and I think selling in an English-speaking country is definitely a little bit less of a mindfuck than selling in a country where that's really not a common language for them. So I think whenever I see stuff go to Germany is kind of when I'm like, oh man, okay.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up this album that comes out November the 15th. Vagora has some awesome albums out there. Please get out and check out this band and support them. They always have a home here on BODS Mayhem Hour because they are the very first ones that came on this show to help support me. So I've always said I would support them in any way, shape, form, or fashion that I could, and that goes for any horror bands out there or any local bands that need help. So, Peter, my friend, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy this album, all the merch. How can they do that?
Vagora Bandcamp. Google that, and we have everything up there for sale: CDs, shirts. The pre-order is up on there for the new album. Yeah, everything pretty much goes through Bandcamp right now. If you do streaming and stuff like that, we're on all the major, streaming channels and all that stuff, sites, iTunes, all that stuff.
Before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure.
Hi, this is Vagora, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and YouTube link. Anything and everything that we do for BODS Mayhem Hour will go up on our YouTube link and plus our podcast. And please subscribe to our YouTube page. It's very, very vital. Trust me, it's going to work. Also, get out and check out Vagora. Check out their new album that comes out November 15th, Sackcloth and Ashes. This is their 6th studio album, and I'm telling you right now, folks, I'm not saying this because they're on here. They have some phenomenal albums that are out there. Go pick this up. You will not be disappointed. As always, they have a home here, like I said previously. Also, I'd like to say condolences to Patrick Smith, who is one of the local media outlets here around where I live at, Kill Your Radio. He was a co-host, or actually DJ on Kill Your Radio, and he lost his life at Exit 111 Festival this past weekend. So condolences to you, my friend. You will not be forgotten, and play something heavy for Patrick. Keep him in all your prayers and thoughts, because next breath we take is not guaranteed. So keep him in your thoughts. Guys, I appreciate you so much, and I wish you all nothing but the best of luck as always.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. As always, it's a blast.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.